In Genesis chapter 1, we're told that in the beginning the earth was formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. Then God speaks his first words of creation, "Let there be light." In just 6 days of creative work, God makes and fills the earth. The result is awe-inspiring. Have you ever thought of how many things have to work together to support life on planet Earth? Our planet has to be the perfect distance from the sun. Any further away and it's an icy wasteland. Any closer, a steamy furnace. It has the perfect atmosphere mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and other gases all held in place by gravity. And it has the water and nutrients necessary for organisms to survive. But God goes far beyond just survival. His extravagance is visible all around us in the unimaginable splendor and diversity of the plant and animal world. And he gives us perfect balance and cycles as well. We live in a world designed with a beautiful rhythm. Oxygen and CO2 constantly cycle between plants and animals. Water continually cycles through evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. And even on the grandest of scales, our planet itself is a cycle. In plate tectonics, the Earth's outer shell is slowly moving along on top of a molten core. New rock is formed as lava rises to the surface, pushing two plates apart. Eventually, these plates collide with other plates, forcing the edges, composed of the oldest rock, back down into the molten core, where the cycle begins again. Perhaps the simplest of Earth's cycles is that of day and night. This results from the 24-hour rotation of our planet on its axis. Our seasonal cycle results from the revolution of our planet around the sun every 365 1/4 days. Today is the summer solstice, the longest day in the northern hemisphere. In Chambersburg, we will have precisely 15 hours and 37 seconds of daylight, and it signifies the beginning of a season of light and warmth. Growing up, I remember always looking forward to the longest day with such anticipation. But as crazy as this might sound, I would live that day with a sinking feeling, knowing that the pendulum had started to swing the other way and shorter days were ahead. Maybe it's just me, but I often allow the anticipation of future difficulties to dampen my experience of the present moment. I don't fully enjoy the moment because my mind is fearful that things might take a turn for the worse. And I don't want to love others with my whole heart because of the nagging thought that I might one day lose them. But life is seasonal. Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 says, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." There is great tension between living in the joy of the moment and knowing that darkness lies ahead. Sociologist Brené Brown has found that many people allow the fear of an unknown future to prevent them from living wholeheartedly in the present. But interestingly, in her research, she also found that failing to live with joy and gratitude actually inhibits our ability to cope with difficult situations when they arise. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, she warns, "If we're not practicing gratitude and allowing ourselves to know joy, we are missing out on the two things that will actually sustain us during the inevitable hard times." As Christians, we follow one who kept these in perfect balance. Jesus' public ministry leads to the darkest, most unjust moment in history, and yet we see him continually embracing the joy of the moment. His first recorded miracle comes at a wedding celebration, where he turns hand-washing water into choicest wine. And throughout the Gospels, we see him continually reaching out to men, women, and children, Jews and Gentiles, rich and poor, embracing the intimacy of human friendship. Just hours before his arrest, we see him reclining at a table with his best friends, even though he knows that within the next 24 hours he faces trial, torture, and death. And his death and resurrection signify a new season. In creation, the Word of God spoke into the empty void. In Bethlehem, Jesus entered the darkness of humanity as Emmanuel, God with us. And now the light of the world shines into the darkness through us. We are not the light. We are only passing on the light that burns in us. I recently ran across a beautiful metaphor comparing humanity to a stained glass window. Author Elizabeth Kubler-Ross says, "People are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out, but when the darkness sets in, their beauty is revealed only if there is a light from within. Like creation, we are an infinite array of diversity and individuality. It is all of the different colors, shapes, and textures that make for the loveliest image, and it is the light of the world that shines through us all into the darkness."